The kiss that shocked the alien world. Jack was a human explorer from Earth. He came to the alien planet Elindra on a peaceful mission. Elindra was beautiful, full of glowing forests, floating stones, and strange blue skies. The people of Elindra were known as the Varelians, tall, graceful, and glowing with soft light. They had big, shining eyes and smooth skin that shimmered under the moon. Jack was there as part of a cultural exchange program. He was polite, curious, and always smiling. Most of the Varelians didn't speak much to outsiders, but one alien girl kept watching him. Her name was Leary. She was young, full of wonder, and different from the others. She wasn't afraid of Jack. She wanted to understand him. One day, during the planet's famous Moonfire Festival, Jack and Leary met again. Leary wore a silver robe that glowed in the dark. Her hair floated like silk in water. Jack had never seen anyone like her. They sat near a glowing lake eating fruit and talking softly. Leary asked him about Earth. He told her stories about oceans, snow, and music. She listened with wide eyes. "Do humans love?" Leary asked suddenly. Jack chuckled. "Of course. We fall in love all the time. It's complicated but real." She tilted her head. "Do humans kiss?" Jack smiled. "Yes, that's how we show love. Or sometimes just care." Leary nodded slowly. "For us, a kiss is something sacred. It means more." Jack didn't understand the weight behind her words. He thought she was just being poetic. Then, as soft music played around them and floating, lights filled the sky, Leary leaned in and kissed him. Her lips were warm and her touch was gentle. Jack was surprised, but he didn't stop her. The moment lasted only a few seconds. Then everything changed. Gasps echoed across the festival grounds. Varelians nearby stared in shock. Some dropped their cups. Some even screamed. Music stopped. Lights flickered. Leary pulled back, her eyes wide in panic. Her glowing skin dimmed. She stepped away from Jack, trembling. "What's wrong?" Jack asked. "It was just a kiss." Leary looked terrified. "You don't understand. You don't know what you've done." From the crowd, elders rushed toward them. A tall man with glowing markings on his forehead shouted, "The bond has been sealed, witnessed by the moons." Jack stood confused. "Wait, what bond? What do you mean?" Leary turned to him, tears in her eyes. "In our culture, a kiss binds us. It is a lifelink. I didn't mean to. I was caught in the moment." Jack took a step back. "So, what now?" "You are now my pair," she whispered. "My chosen. And our child will arrive soon." Jack blinked. "Our what?" Leary looked down, placing her hand on her chest. "You kissed me during Moonfire. Our bodies, they react. A child is formed not by time, but by connection. Tomorrow, I will return with the baby." Jack stared at her, stunned. "Are you telling me I'm going to be a father? In one day?" She nodded, shaking with fear. "Yes, that's the law of our people." He laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. This can't be real. But Leary didn't smile. The elders ordered Jack to be taken to a sacred tent for protection. They said the council would speak in the morning. Jack sat inside the glowing tent alone. His mind was spinning. How did a simple kiss turn into all this? He thought of Earth, of normal life. How did he end up here, on a glowing alien world, with an alien girl expecting a child overnight? The sky outside turned violet. He couldn't sleep. At sunrise, soft steps approached the tent. The flap opened. Leary stood there, holding something wrapped in silver cloth. Her face was pale, her eyes full of fear. Jack stood up. "Is that—" She slowly pulled back the cloth. Inside was a glowing baby, its skin soft and shimmering like hers. It had Jack's eyes. Jack froze. His heart pounded. It wasn't a dream. It was real. "I brought you your child," Leary whispered. "I know you didn't ask for this. But he is yours. And mine. Jack stared at the small face, so innocent, so calm. He had kissed an alien girl. Now, he was a father. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Jack stood frozen. The glowing baby in Leary's arms stared up at him with curious, shining eyes, half human, half Varelian. Its small fingers reached for him as if it knew who he was. Jack stepped back. This can't be real. Leary lowered her eyes. It is real. The baby is yours, Jack. Born from our bond. He shook his head, trying to breathe. We only kissed, Leary, just a kiss. For you, maybe, she said quietly. But for my people, a kiss during moonfire. It's the highest form of union. It creates life. It seals fate. Before Jack could speak again, the tent flap opened. 2 tall Varelian guards entered, followed by a woman wearing a robe covered in symbols. High Matron Valestra, a member of the ruling council. Her voice was calm, but firm. Human, you have created life on Elindra. By our law, you are now bound to the child and the mother. Jack stared at her. What does that mean? Valestra raised a hand. You are recognized as the father. You have responsibilities. You may leave, yes, but not without the child. And if you leave the child, you will be exiled from all Varelian space. Forever. Jack blinked. So I'm trapped? Leary stepped forward. No, but you must choose. Our law allows one path. Bond, raise and protect, or walk away and lose all right to the child. The baby whimpered softly as if sensing the tension. Jack looked at it again, so small, so strange. But something about its eyes. Those were his. A tiny version of himself, glowing in silver light. Valestra continued. You have until sunset to decide. You may not touch the child until you accept. The guards took Leary and the baby away. Jack was left alone in the tent again. He sat down, his head in his hands. What the hell is happening? He whispered to himself. I came here to study cultures, not become a father. But deep down, a strange warmth was growing in his chest. That child was part of him, a living being he helped create, even if it was alien. The sun moved slowly across the sky. Jack walked around the tent, remembering Earth. The city lights, coffee shops, his quiet apartment. Would they even let him return if he refused the child? Would he be able to live with himself if he left it behind? As sunset neared, Leary returned, with Valestra. The baby slept in her arms. Jack stood silently. Valestra asked, Have you decided, human? Jack nodded slowly. Yes. Leary's breath caught. I will stay, Jack said. Not because of your law, but because... I looked into his eyes, and I saw myself. Valestra studied him, then nodded. So it is written. From this moment on, you are a Varelian parent. You may name the child. Jack stepped forward for the first time. Leary handed him the baby. It was warm, soft, and it stopped whimpering the moment Jack touched it. I'll call him Orion, Jack said softly. Leary smiled for the first time since the kiss. But the moment of peace didn't last. Another council member stormed into the tent. He was tall, with battle scars and angry eyes. Counselor Karen, Leary's old suitor. You dishonor our people, Karen shouted. She was promised to me. This human knows nothing of our ways. Valestra raised a hand. The law is clear. The bond was made under moonfire. It is valid. Karen growled. Then I challenge him. If he wants to keep the child, let him prove his worth, Leary gasped. No, the trial of fathers is too dangerous. Karen pointed at Jack. Let him survive the ancient test. If he fails, he dies and I take the child. Valestra didn't object. It is his right. Jack held the baby tightly. I'm not a warrior, he said. I didn't come here to fight. Karen smiled coldly. Then the choice is simple. Walk away, or die trying to be a father. Jack looked down at Orion asleep in his arms. He felt the baby's warmth, its heartbeat, its quiet trust. He looked back up, jaw tight. Then I'll fight. That night, Jack didn't sleep. He sat beside Leary in silence. You don't have to do this, she whispered. You could run. They would never find you in the outer colonies. He looked at her. I don't run. She nodded slowly, eyes glistening with something more than sadness. You're very strange, for a human. He smiled weakly. So, are you for an alien? Outside, the trial grounds were being prepared. Tomorrow, Jack would face the deadliest test of his life, not to win a war, but to earn the right to be called a father. Jack had never trained as a soldier. He had no armor, no weapons, and no idea how alien trials worked. Yet here he stood, on cracked stone, surrounded by glowing alien runes, facing a challenge that could kill him. In the stands above, hundreds of Varelians watched in silence. The trial of fathers had not been called in over a century. It was a sacred event, used only when two males fought over the right to raise a child born of bonding. And across from him stood Karen, proud, tall, and dangerous. Karen had trained since youth to become a warrior. His skin was marked with war tattoos. His arms bulged with muscle and his fingers flexed like a beast ready to strike. He had once hoped to bond with Leary, but she had never returned his affection. Now, with a single kiss from a human, Karen had lost everything. He stepped forward, sneering. You are weak, human. This trial will show your bones to the sand. Jack's heart pounded. He was sweating, trying not to shake. High Matron Valestra raised her staff. Let the trial begin. 3 glowing doors opened in the arena. Karen charged forward through the center door, his war cry echoing like thunder. Jack hesitated. He looked up into the crowd. Leary was there, holding baby Orion close. Her eyes were locked on Jack, pleading, afraid. He took a deep breath and stepped into the left door. Inside, the first chamber was dark and quiet. Blue lights pulsed along the walls. The air was hot and smelled of metal. Then came the first challenge. A strange floating machine appeared. It shot bolts of plasma toward Jack. He rolled behind a pillar, gasping. No weapons, no armor. Then he saw something nearby. A strange shield, device lying broken on the floor. He picked it up and pressed the center. A weak energy field shimmered in front of him. The machine fired again. Jack lifted the shield just in time. It blocked the bolt, but cracked. The next hit would break it. Jack didn't wait. He ran, he ducked, he threw a rock at the machine's sensor. It sparked. Then it exploded. Jack dropped the shield, breathing heavily. 1 room down, he muttered. Meanwhile, Karen was already slicing through the second trial, fighting off sharp-clawed beasts with a glowing blade. He was fast, brutal, and proud. The crowd roared for him, but Valestra watched Jack on the hidden screen. Her eyes narrowed with interest. This human, she whispered. He's not strong, but he adapts. In Jack's second trial room, he faced something harder than danger. Illusions. Holograms of Leary, Orion, and even Earth surrounded him. You don't belong here, one illusion said. You're no father, another whispered. You'll die for nothing, said a third, Leary's voice. Jack fell to his knees. His heart hurt. Doubt filled his mind. But then, he remembered the real Leary. How she had looked at him that night by the lake. How she had handed him the baby without fear. How Orion had smiled in his arms. He stood up. You're not real. My son is. He pushed forward. The illusions shattered. Karen reached the final room, a tower climb filled with fire traps. He raced through it like a true warrior. But pride made him careless. A flame scorched his side. He roared, but kept going. Jack arrived at the tower moments later, slower, but alive. At the top, The last challenge waited, a platform where the final choice was made. Karen stood there, bleeding but upright. Valestra's voice echoed across the arena. The trial ends here. Now, the final task. Both men must stand before the sacred flame. Only one flame will glow. It chooses the true father. A floating flame appeared between them, blue, glowing, mysterious. Karen stepped forward first. The flame flickered, but did not glow. Jack took a breath and stepped forward, thinking of Orion, of Leary, of everything he had fought for. The flame turned gold. The crowd gasped. Karen fell to his knees, shaking with rage. No, it cannot be. Valestra raised her staff. The flame has chosen. Jack of Earth. You are the rightful father. Later, Jack sat beside Leary and Orion in the quiet of the healing chambers. His arms ached, his feet burned, but he smiled. Leary looked at him, voice soft. You passed the trial. Jack laughed weakly. Barely. You're not like them, she said. I know, he replied. But I'm not going anywhere. Orion cooed in her arms, then reached toward Jack again. Jack took him gently. Hey, little guy, you've got a stubborn dad, huh? Leary smiled, touching Jack's arm. And a brave one. The flame had chosen Jack. The people had accepted him, but the council was not done testing the human. Valestra stood once more before the crowd. Her voice echoed across the glowing arena. By our ancient code, the final step remains. The father must now prove not only strength but care. She turned to Jack. You must survive with the child for 3 sons, she said. Alone, no help, no tools. Only your instincts, only your heart. Jack's jaw tightened. What kind of place? Valestra pointed toward the distant mountains. The Shattered Reach. A land untouched. Wild. Dangerous. Jack looked at Leary. Her face was pale. Even our own do not go there anymore, she whispered. That night, before the trial began, Leary met Jack one last time outside the gates. She wrapped baby Orion in soft silver cloth and gently placed him in Jack's arms. You don't have to do this, she said softly. He's just a baby. Jack looked at her, then at the little face resting against his chest. I know, he said. That's why I'm doing it. She leaned close and kissed Orion's forehead. He glows brighter when you hold him. Jack gave a small smile. Then I'll be his light in the wild. The gates opened. Jack stepped through, carrying nothing but a baby. The Shattered Reach was like another planet. Tall black trees stretched into red mist. Strange calls echoed in the night. The air was thick and damp, buzzing with unseen life. Jack walked carefully, using broken branches to mark his path. He found a small cave by a stream and made it their shelter. He laid Orion down on a bed of soft moss, then sat beside him, listening, waiting. He didn't sleep. He couldn't. The baby needed him. The first night was cold. The second was worse. Storm came suddenly. Purple rain fell from the sky, burning like acid on leaves. Jack covered the cave with flat stones and bark, holding Orion close under his own shirt to keep him warm. The baby cried and cried. Jack rocked him in silence, whispering nonsense and earth lullabies. You picked a fine time to be born, kid, he muttered with a tired smile. Outside, something growled. On the second morning, Jack found strange berries growing near the stream. He didn't dare eat them, but Orion needed something. Then he saw small glowing bugs landing on the berries and not dying. That was enough for him. He mashed a few and fed Orion small drops, carefully watching for reactions. The baby smiled. Jack laughed. Looks like we found breakfast. But peace didn't last. Later that day, a creature appeared. It looked like a long, spiked wolf, 4 eyes, no fur, glowing claws. It sniffed the cave, its breath steaming. Jack didn't move. He held Orion tightly and reached for a sharp stick nearby. The creature stepped forward, closer, then stopped. Orion made a soft humming noise. The creature tilted its head, then backed away into the trees. Jack stared in disbelief. "You just scared off a monster," he whispered. "Are you magic?" Orion cooed, blinking up at him. Jack hugged him tight. "Yeah, I think you are." The third sun rose. Jack was weak, his body sore, but Orion was safe, healthy, smiling. They sat at the edge of the stream together, watching glowing birds fly across the pink sky. For the first time, Jack wasn't just surviving. He was fathering. As they made their way back toward the trial gates, Jack talked softly to the baby. "Back home I had a quiet life. Books, movies. I never thought I'd be walking through an alien jungle with a glowing baby in my arms." Orion laughed, his first real laugh. Jack stopped and looked at him. That's the only reward I need." At sunset, the gates opened again. The crowd gasped as Jack stepped out of the mist, baby in his arms, dirt on his face, but his head held high. Leary ran forward, her eyes filled with tears. Jack handed her the baby gently. "He's safe. He's strong. He's amazing." She looked up at him. "You didn't just survive. You thrived." Valestra stepped forward. "The final trial is complete. Jack of Earth, you are not only father, you are now one of us." That night, under the same moonfire sky where everything began, Leary sat beside Jack once more. "I thought I'd lost my future," she said. "But maybe I just hadn't found it yet." Jack looked at Orion, then at her. "Maybe we all found something." They sat in silence, the baby sleeping between them. And, for the first time, the stars above Elindra felt like home. Jack thought the trials were over, but Varelian traditions had deep roots, some older than their stars. One final demand was made. The father must live outside the city walls for one moon cycle, protecting the child without help. No tech, no weapons, no mother, just the raw, untamed world and a baby who glowed at night. The council called it the Night Jungle Rite. They said only one other father had ever returned alive. Jack didn't care. He took Orion into his arms again and nodded. "I already survived your forests," he told the council. "I'll survive this." Leary watched them go. Her eyes were full of silent tears, but she didn't stop them. This time she believed in Jack. The night jungle was something else. Unlike the shattered reach, it was alive with movement. Thousands of glowing eyes, crawling roots, and unseen beasts that whispered through the dark. There was no day here, only shades of purple and black. The stars were hidden. Jack built a shelter from tree bark and vines. He made a nest with glowing moss. Orion giggled when Jack laid him down, but the jungle did not rest. That night, Jack heard scratching. Something was outside the shelter. He picked up a sharpened stick. He held Orion close. The scratching grew louder. Then, silence. Jack waited, sweating. Minutes passed. Then came the hiss. A long, snake-like creature with two heads slithered through the leaves. Its tongue flickered. Its eyes glowed green. Jack stepped between it and the baby. He didn't know how to fight, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't let anything touch his son. The creature lunged. Jack dodged, swung the stick, missed. The creature coiled. Jack shouted. Suddenly, light. Orion glowed bright and warm like a small sun. The creature froze, then slithered backward, disappearing into the shadows. Jack stared at the baby in shock. "You saved us again," he whispered. "What are you?" Orion just smiled and clapped his little hands. The next day, Jack explored the area. He discovered that many creatures avoided them, not because of him, but because of the child's light. Wherever Orion was placed, the plants grew calm. The air became warmer. Insects slowed their movement. Jack realized something important. Orion was changing the jungle. And maybe he wasn't just a baby. Maybe he was something more. but not all creatures feared the light. On the fifth night, they came, dark figures with bone masks and claws. They weren't animals. They were hunters. Wild exiles from the Varelian tribes, forgotten warriors who lived only to kill. They had seen the baby's glow from far away. Now they wanted it. Jack heard them whispering outside the shelter. One of them stepped forward, holding a burning staff. Another aimed a dart at Orion. Jack moved before he could think. He dived in front of the baby, taking the dart in his shoulder. Pain burned through his arm. His vision blurred. He grabbed Orion and ran into the trees. Behind him, the hunter screamed and followed. Jack's legs were weak. The dart was poison, but he ran anyway. Branches whipped his face. Roots tripped him. He fell, twice, but never dropped the baby. He reached a cliff. No way forward. Behind him, the hunters closed in. Jack turned to face them, holding Orion to his chest. "I won't let you take him," he shouted. The leader stepped forward, raising his staff. Then, a blast of gold light. Orion's body flashed like lightning. The hunters screamed, covering their faces. Trees bent away. Wind howled. The earth trembled. When the light faded, the hunters were gone, only silence remained. Jack collapsed, breathing hard. He looked at the child. "You're not just my son," he said. "You're a star waiting to be born." At sunrise, the jungle opened. A path appeared, one that wasn't there before. Jack followed it back to the city. When he stepped through the gates, people fell silent. He looked broken, cut, bruised, bleeding, but he held Orion high, and Orion was smiling. Leary ran to them. She held Jack as he nearly collapsed. "You did it," she whispered. "You brought him back." Jack smiled weakly. "He brought me back." The council bowed for the first time in history to a human. Balestra spoke softly. "The jungle has judged, and so have we. You are no longer just a visitor. You are now one of Elindra's protectors." That night, Leary, Jack, and Orion sat under the moonfire again. "I thought I was just an explorer," Jack said. "But you found something greater," Leary replied. "A family," he said. Orion giggled. And above them, the stars seemed to shine, just a little brighter. Orion was growing faster than anyone expected, only 10 days old, yet he could already sit up. He hummed softly, making lights float in the air. His eyes changed color with his mood. Trees leaned toward him when he passed. Birds landed on his shoulders without fear. But no one said a word. Not even Leary. Not even Jack, though he noticed everything. At night, when Orion slept, Jack sat alone under Elindra's twin moons and stared at the sky. "He's not just special," he whispered. "He's something new." The next morning, Jack woke to soft weeping. He followed the sound to a quiet garden deep within the Varelian city. There, behind glowing vines, Leary knelt on the ground, her shoulders shaking. In her hand, she held a thin crystal, pulsing red. Jack stepped closer. "Leary," she didn't look up. "You weren't supposed to see this." "What is that?" She turned slowly. Tears traced glowing lines down her cheeks. "It's a blood memory crystal. It tells the truth of one's lineage." Jack frowned. "What truth?" She stood up, holding the crystal to her heart. "I was born from a hidden bloodline," she said. "A forbidden one." Jack stayed silent. "My mother, she was part of the old blood, a race that once ruled Elindra before the current council erased them from history. They were feared because they carried a spark." Jack's eyes narrowed. "A spark?" Leary nodded. "The power to shape life." She looked toward the city. "I hid it all my life, but Orion, he unlocked it." That night, Jack noticed the city guards watching them, more than usual, and always with serious eyes. Something had changed. The next day, a high council meeting was called. Jack and Leary were summoned. They stood before the elders with Orion in Leary's. Arms. Valestra stepped forward. Her tone was colder now. We've tested the child's energy. It is not only strong, it is awakening something old. Another elder said, "This level of power has not been seen in generations." Jack stepped forward. "And why is that a bad thing?" Chiron, freshly healed and now quiet, finally spoke. "Because such children once burned cities." Jack laughed bitterly. "He's a baby." "For now," Valestra said. "But what will he become?" Leary held Orion tighter. The council argued for hours. Some wanted the child protected. Others wanted him studied. One suggested separation from the parents. Jack stood in front of them. "You want to take him from us?" "He is Varelian," one elder said. "He belongs to Elindra." Jack's voice rose. "He's mine, and I'll protect him from anyone, including you." The room fell silent. Valestra's eyes narrowed. "Then leave. Tonight. Take the child and vanish before the vote turns against you." They didn't wait. Leary packed fast. Jack carried supplies. They slipped through the back gates under cover of fog. But Orion glowed in Jack's arms, his light hard to hide. They fled through the cliffs, into the forbidden zones where only ghosts were said to dwell. At night, they stopped near a broken monument. Ancient symbols glowed along its stone surface. Leary sat by the fire holding Orion. Jack paced. "They're afraid of him." "No," Leary said softly. "They're afraid of me." She looked up at him. "Orion only awakened what?" "I kept buried. He didn't inherit danger, he inherited destiny." Jack sat beside her. "What kind of destiny?" Leary whispered. "Our legend spoke of a child born from two stars, one of earth, one of flame, a child who could end or begin an age." Jack chuckled. "That sounds like too much pressure for one baby." She didn't smile. "He's not just our child," she said. "He may be Elindra's last hope, or its undoing." Jack looked at Orion, now asleep between them. Then he reached out and held Leary's hand. "Then we raise him right," Jack said. "Together. And no one decides his future but us." Leary nodded, resting her head on his shoulder. But in the shadows of the cliffs, they were not alone. Far above, hidden in the ruins, a group of cloaked figures watched them. Their leader whispered, "The child has awakened. The prophecy lives." Another figure replied, "Do we take him now?" The leader shook her head. "No, we wait. Let the fire grow. When it burns bright enough, it will come to us." The cave was quiet. The wind outside howled like ghosts through the broken cliffs. Jack stood at the edge looking down at the dark valley below. Leary slept near the fire, Orion cradled in her arms, glowing faintly. Jack didn't sleep. He hadn't slept much since they fled the city. Too many eyes had followed them. Too many whispers in the trees. Too many dreams of cloaked figures in the dark. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the end of something, or the beginning of something greater. Just before sunrise it happened. The ground shook. Not a little, a deep rumbling quake like something ancient waking from sleep. Leary sat up instantly. "They found us." She was right. From the valley below, lights rose. Not stars, ships, Varelian flyers, shaped like silver blades, moved fast and silent. At least 6, maybe more, and on the cliffs, above and below, figures in dark robes emerged, the same ones who had been watching them, the same ones who spoke of prophecy. Jack turned to Leary. "Take the baby. Run." Leary's eyes widened. "No, not without you." Jack grabbed a sharp branch. It was nothing compared to energy blades or weapons, but it would do. "You're not leaving me," she said, stepping forward. "You're the one they want," he said. "Orion, you and him. I'm just the human who kissed you." She put Orion down and stepped up to Jack. "You are more than that." She touched his chest. "You are his father, and my strength." He looked into her glowing eyes and nodded. Then we fight. They didn't wait. The enemy arrived fast. The cloaked figures moved like shadows, eyes glowing under hoods. They didn't speak. They didn't threaten. They simply raised their hands and the ground moved. Roots and vines came alive. Trees twisted. Stones floated. Jack stood in front of Leary and Orion, the wooden spear in his hand. "I don't understand what you want," he shouted, "but you're not taking them." A female voice echoed from the lead figure. "We do not want to harm the child. We want to raise him, as he was meant to be." Leary stepped forward. "You would raise him to rule, but not with love, with fear. You will make him weak," the figure replied. "He was born from prophecy. He must lead." Jack raised the spear. "He will lead when he chooses. On his terms, not yours." The cloaked figure raised her hand. The battle began. It was chaos. Roots burst from the ground, trying to trap them. Jack slashed with the wooden spear, cutting vines and dodging blasts of blue energy. Leary created a shield of light with her hands, blocking strikes, protecting Orion. Jack fought like a man with nothing left to lose but everything left to protect. He was outmatched, outnumbered, and overwhelmed. But he didn't fall, not even when the spear broke, not even when he was knocked to the ground. He got back up, blood on his face, chest heaving. "You want him?" Jack shouted, pointing to Orion. "Then you come through me." The leader raised her hand again, aiming a final blast at Jack. But the energy never hit him, because in that moment, Orion cried. The cry wasn't loud, it was soft, but it shook the sky. The baby's glow turned from soft white to blazing gold. Everything stopped, even the attackers. Time seemed to pause as light poured from the child's body, rising into the sky like a beacon. The floating rocks stilled, the vines froze, and then, one by one, the cloaked figures dropped to their knees. "He has awakened," one whispered. The leader lowered her hood. Her face was pale and afraid. Leary stepped forward, holding Orion in her arms, who now stared at the cloaked group with glowing eyes. Not scared, not angry, just calm. "You see now," Leary said. "He is not yours to control. He is not your weapon. He is not your god." Jack limped to her side, placing his arm around her. "He's our son." The light faded slowly. The ground was still. The cloaked group stood in silence. Then, their leader bowed her head. "We were wrong," she said. "He must be raised not in power, but in peace. And by you." They disappeared into the shadows, one by one. The ships above turned and flew away. No fight, no more threats, just silence. A week later, the council summoned them back to Elindra, not with guards, not with soldiers, but with honor. Valestra herself greeted them at the gates. She bowed to Orion, and then she bowed to Jack. "You faced the old ones," she said. "You stood alone. And still, you stood tall." Jack looked at her. "I didn't stand alone." Leary smiled beside him. Valestra nodded. "Then let this day be remembered. A new family, a new child, a new beginning." That night, the city lit up brighter than ever before. For the first time, a human was named guardian of the Varelian future. Jack, the outsider, the explorer, the one who kissed a girl during a festival and became a father to something more than anyone imagined. He didn't wear a crown. He didn't build an empire. He simply carried a baby, fed him, fought for him, and loved him. And that was enough. Leary held Orion in her arms while the crowd cheered around them. Jack stood beside her, hand in hers. "What now?" he asked. She smiled. "We raise a legend," she said. Far above, on a quiet mountaintop, the last of the cloaked watchers whispered into the stars. "The star blood child walks the world, and the fire is in good hands.